Hi everyone, I'm Sean from Attack Panic, and today we're going to discuss the Progress Scorecard, which is available as a free download from my website when you purchase Attack Panic. The Attack Panic program is a recipe for success. It's a framework for your own healing. If you follow the framework, if you work, the program will work. A vital part of this framework is measuring and monitoring your progress, to not only identify whether you are on track, but more importantly, to identify why you aren't on track. The Attack Panic Scorecard has been created to measure and monitor your progress from week to week, and to identify the areas that you need to work on. Before we go any further, please ensure that you've printed off a copy of the Progress Scorecard. You'll find this amongst the many free resources in the members only area. Let's take a quick peek at the scorecard. It's fairly self-explanatory, so I won't be going into any great detail, but there are certain aspects worth discussing here. First of all, enter the date of your self-assessment here. Complete this form at the end of every week, preferably on a Sunday. We're measuring our performance over the previous 7 days. In this column you'll see 13 measures. They point directly to the building blocks of Attack Panic, and they identify whether you are complying with the Attack Panic program. If you've read Attack Panic and you've committed to the program, then these measures will be self-explanatory and by now very familiar to you. Against each of the measures, you're going to give yourself a score between 1 and 5, 1 being no action, 5 being lots of action. What I mean by lots of action is 100% compliance is not necessary. Just more often than not, complying with the measure more often than not is what we're looking for. 100% compliance would be great, but more often than not will mean that you're tipping the scales and that you'll be making progress. So your aim is to score between a 4 and a 5, preferably a 5, because it still means, complying more often than not. You want a 4 or a 5 against all of the 13 measures. If you're achieving that, then you can have faith and confidence that you are making great progress and that you are on the road to healing. So if we just look at measure 1 very quickly, it states that I'm using the planner to plan my day, preferably the night before, and I'm including all the things that I need to do on that day, especially these golden rules. This measure is integral to the Attack Panic program. It's a very, very powerful diversion and distraction tool. So in the previous 7 days, if I'm complying with this measure, say 4 or 5 of those days, then I'm taking action, I'm complying more often than not. I'm tipping the scales and I'm making good progress. So that deserves a 4 or a 5. Now, in this column here, enter your previous assessment score. The reason we're doing that is fairly self-explanatory. We want to identify which measure we're making progress on, which measure we're scoring poorly on, or which measure we're going backwards on. And that can happen from week to week, so that's not too much of a problem. If you're not making progress with the Attack Panic program, then we look to these measures and we identify which measure we're not performing or we're not complying with very well. And that could be a score between 1 and 3. That's why it's so important for you to assess yourself honestly. We then simply make a commitment to comply with that measure. It's that simple. Measure your progress, identify which measure you're not complying with, and make a commitment to comply. If you complied with all of these 13 measures, then you are on the road to healing. Okay, so here's the important stuff. First of all, Measure your progress not on how you are feeling from day to day or on any given day, because like everybody else, we all have good days and bad days. It's a fact of life, especially when you're going about building new non-anxious behavior. If you measure your progress based on how you may be feeling on a given day, then you run the risk of slowing your progress down through being disappointed, being frustrated. Rather, measure your progress based on whether you are following the program more often than not. 100% compliance to the program, whilst it would be awesome, is not necessary to tip the scales. 100% compliance to the program would definitely mean that you would heal yourself rapidly. But complying to the program more often than not is enough to tip the scales. It's enough to make good progress, and it's enough to heal yourself quickly. Now, unless you are an enlightened human being, in which case you probably won't even be watching this video, success won't just turn up at your doorstep. Rather, success will be the sum of doing little things day in and day out. And doing little things day in and day out doesn't require hard work, but it does require practice. It does require perseverance. And above all, it requires faith. And I go on about this a lot. Faith in yourself, your belief that you can heal yourself, that you can be well again. Faith in me as your teacher, and faith in this program of healing. Practice and persevere day in and day out. Okay, so here's the next important thing. I suggest that you do away with placing any expectations on yourself other than to practice acceptance. As placing expectations on yourself could lead to frustration, disappointment, and desperation if things don't seem to be happening as fast as you'd like. And we'd all naturally love our anxious habits to be gone yesterday. So expectations in the wrong hands can really get in the way of your own healing. For example, you have a habit of acting or behaving anxiously. It's not going to go away in a hurry. That's how habits work. So don't place huge expectations on yourself to feel better straight away, because you may or may not be disappointed. Your old habit will be banging down on your door, begging you to let it in until you replace it with new non-anxious predominant behavior thoughts. So you will have good days and bad days along your journey. In fact, we all have them. It's called life. That's why I said earlier, don't measure your progress on how you are feeling. Measure your progress on whether you are following the program more often than not. Measure, monitor, and take action. Your only job is to comply with the program with unwavering faith. Now, when you begin a diet plan, for example, you don't expect to reach your goal weight on your first day, the first week, or the first month, depending on what that goal is. You know with absolute faith that if you comply with the program, you will reach your target. Along your journey, you are going to have good and bad days, but you accept that. But you do know that those who succeed are the ones that keep moving forward, that comply with the program day in and day out more often than not. And those that do that reach their target goal weight. This must be your approach to this program, to your own healing. Your own experience will validate this point of view. Hey, I think that's enough on this progress scorecard. Hopefully you get it. Hopefully you understand how important this component of the Attack Panic program is. Measuring and monitoring, identifying why you aren't progressing, and taking the necessary action is key. Let me know what you think and let me know how you're going. I'm going to leave you on a famous quote by the American swimmer Mark Spitz, 9-time Olympic champion. 7 of those gold medals were won at the Munich Olympics. We all want to win, but how many of us want to train? Namaste.